للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. We continue Sunday, February the 10th, 2019, 3:57 p.m., which agrees with the month, the Hijri calendar, Jumad al-Thaniya, or the 4th of Jumad al-Thaniya, 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. We continue in Buloogh Al-Maraam by the great illustrious Imam Al-Hafiz Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani rahimahullah, who is known as Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, but his full name was Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, who died 852 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. We continue in this tremendous treatise that he wrote, rahimahullah, Buloogh Al-Maraam. We resume the explanation of the chapter of Kitab al-Nikah, the chapter of marriage. You'll find, walillahi alhamdu minna, the details that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in the authentic sunnah of His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam in regards to certain affairs which are permissible or what are in the boundaries that Allah has given us or set for not to transgress, especially in those affairs that's involving enjoyment and delight in the life of marriage, and those affairs that are pleasing to Allah, as well as those affairs that are displeasing to Him subhanahu. We continue in the hadith, as you'll find, as we continue in the chapter, what they call husnul ishra, having good dealings with the spouse, having good dealings with one's spouse, whether it be the husband or the wife. And like we talked about, brothers and sisters, a lot of us lose the goal of marriage in regards to certain affairs which are at the top of the list when we embark upon marriage life. No doubt, before we continue in the hadith, because this hadith is tremendous and a lot of benefits that are extracted from it, even though a person might read the book and say, oh, it's only 1 or 2 lines, but it has a lot of benefits in it. But ultimately, brothers and sisters, don't forget that when we get married, we embark upon marriage life. Marriage life is not just for fulfilling one's desires, and that's it, or building a family, and that's it, and having children, and that's it. A lot of us forget when we get married, the first thing in our mind should be, or one of the first thing, if not the primary thing in our mind should be, how can I enhance the good qualities of my spouse? How can I bring the good out of him or her? And how can I subdue and remove, if not remove, or at least keep the evil traits at bay, or try to subdue it totally? A lot of us forget that when we marry each other, we're supposed to figure out with each other, how do I make my spouse happy? What can I do to put a smile on her face or his face? What can I do? We need to figure these things out. And that's a duty upon all of us. How do I enhance the good qualities of my husband? How do I enhance the good qualities of my wife? How do I bring the good out of her and alleviate the bad? Or how to bring the good qualities out, enhance the good qualities, and try to shun the evil ones as much as possible. Those things that we forget. We forget that when we marry. We just think marriage is about, okay, let's be intimate, satisfy our desires. It's a job. Okay, you go to work. You're supposed to pay the bills. I'm having kids, and that's it. That's it. Keep it moving. No. When we first get married, we're supposed to figure out, how do we enhance the good qualities of our spouse? How do we enhance that? That's what we need to figure out when we marry each other. How do I put a smile on my wife's face? How do I put a smile on my husband's face? How do I make them, or how can I alleviate some pressure from him? How can I alleviate some pressure from her? How can I take the pressure off of him? How can I take the pressure off of her? How can I alleviate? Because these is when we get married, we're supposed to figure out to our best ability how to make each other happy. And that's what we lose sight of. That's the issue of why a lot of us have our problems, because we lose the primary focus of why we get married ultimately. We get married, brothers and sisters, to make each other better people. That's the sight. How can I make my husband a better person? How can I make my wife a better person? How can I make her better than when she was when she married me? No, how we are, we're the opposite. We look for, how can I bring the evil out of my wife? How can I bring the evil out of my husband? How can I get on his nerves? How can I make him upset? How can I make her upset? How can I bring the evil out of her? I want to enhance the evil qualities she has and shun the good ones. This is not how we're supposed to be. And this is satanic, that we were not commanded to deal with each other in this light. So sisters, even though the class is for them, of course, initially, but it's for all of us. Generally, as far as its advice, it's geared towards or we address ourselves as far as reminding each other of the ultimate goal of why we get married. We ultimately get married, no doubt, is to build families, bring families together, to have children, and even satisfy our desires, to keep our private parts chaste to the best of our ability, of course, of trying to avoid falling into anything that's abominable with our private parts. No doubt. That's one aspect of marriage, no doubt. Nobody's saying that. That's the truth, no doubt. But ultimately, we also marry each other to ultimately be better people, to bring the good qualities out of each other, to bring the good qualities and shun the bad ones, to enhance the good qualities of each other, and to now what? Alleviate the bad ones. We came to Islam to be better people, ultimately. We didn't come to Islam to be the same of how we were before we were Muslim. That person that for example, you see, that if you get married to a husband, or you get married to a man, or a man gets married to a woman, and you find that spouse is bringing that side out of you that you're trying to leave off, and you're trying to purify yourself from before you meet Allah, you find that your wife or your husband is trying to bring that side of you, it's trying to go. It's time to go. You bringing a side out of me that I'm trying to purify myself of before I meet my Lord, and you trying to bring it out of me. That's evil. And if you see this quality in your spouse, of course, then you should advise them with mannerism and respect, not to insult or raise voice. As we know, a lot of us that's the first thing we always resort to, is vulgar speech, raising voice, arguing and screaming. Now, I'm not talking about in that manner. I'm talking about addressing one with respect and telling them, listen, I married you hoping that you will bring the good qualities out of me. And similar to me, bringing the good qualities out of you to make us better people. Not the opposite. I didn't marry you for now to make me always upset and for you to try to get me to curse or use vulgar speech or use profanity or raise my voice or pull my hair out and acting crazy in my household. I didn't marry you for that. I married you to enhance my good qualities so you can make me a better person. And if you see, and I see that you're trying to make me fall into something that is displeasing to my Lord and bring a side out of me or a character out of me that I tried to leave off before I was Muslim, and I'm trying to purify myself of before I die. Because that's what I'm ultimately trying to set out for, purifying my soul before I meet my Lord. That's what we lose the sight of. That's the problem. Our minds, even though we've come to Islam, but our minds in some ways don't realize it's still before Islam. We don't realize it. Some of us do it inadvertently, of course, we're not knowing. But not realizing that this way of thinking in our households is before Islam. How can I get my husband to scream? How can I get him to holler? How can I make him lose his mind? How can I put so much pressure on him until he busts and lose his mind? How can I put some more pressure on him? No, we should be figuring out how can I alleviate the pressure. What can I do to aid you? What can I do to help you? And similar to that, man, the same thing. You see your wife down, you see her not looking good. Babe, is there anything I could do for you? So I can take off the pressure, I can make you happy, I can make you smile. What can I do? And we should be willing enough to accommodate. If they laid out the carpet for you, you should be what? Willing to address it now. We should never shut down, I'm shutting down, oh, you should figure it out. No, that's not a man or your spouse does not know the unseen. The only way he can know is if you express it to him or express it to her. Nobody can read your mind, and nobody has time for that. If a person has opened up the door, then you should walk through it by saying, okay, this is what makes me happy. This is what makes me happy. I like this. I like when a man does this. A man should say, I like it when a woman does this. These things make me happy. This puts a smile on my face. And you'll find, brothers and sisters, a lot of us, it's not even all that deep. You'll find it's the simplest things that make each other happy. It's the simplest things. But however, we don't do it. The simplest things. So these are the things we have to remind ourselves of so we can start rectification of solving the ills or the social ills in our communities based upon what Allah and His Messenger have legislated, no doubt. But to know ultimately, or if you want to say primarily, or firstly, before we embark upon the life of marriage, know for sure that we're walking into this marriage to figure out how I can make my spouse a better person. That's how we should be thinking. All of us. Don't put in your mind how I can make him or her angry. This is dysfunctional behavior, because you'll find there are brothers out there that look for this. They look for a woman, as I've heard brothers say out of their own mouths verbally, say, I like a woman that's slightly crazy. Or I like a woman when she gets feisty and she starts to scream and holler. I like that. Akhi, where you get that from? That's not from the religion to find that type of woman. Where do you get that from? That's from before you were Muslim. I like them slightly thrown off. I like them a little crazy. And they'll giggle with it. Akhi, woo, that's where do you get that from? Sisters, the same thing. I want a man I want him to be angry. I want him to holler. I want him to scream. And if he can, maybe smack me. I like that. That's manly. That's dysfunctional behavior. And when you'll find women, they'll look for this in a spouse. And if they don't get it, they'll try to bring it out of them. That's evil. They'll try to provoke the man to smack her. Because that's what they think in their minds is a man. That's from Jahiliyyah. That's not from Islam. Where you get that from? That way of thinking is from before Islam. These are the things, brothers and sisters, we got to get ourselves together. Like, this is crazy behavior. And this is the reason why the situation is how it is, and it's in the state that it's in now. Because of this way of thinking. When are we going to stop? When is it going to stop? When are we going to start looking for spouses that we see that they're trying to aid us? Spouses, they being there for you, so you should now take the time out to bring the good qualities out of her, and likewise vice versa. Brothers need to stop looking for this, because once sisters see that men don't want this behavior and they don't tolerate this behavior, they'll stop doing it. But when women and men, both, when women know that there are men out there that like this behavior, then they're going to continue to act like that. And similar to that, likewise men. Women should also likewise. Women should put their foot down. Listen, brother, I married you so you can make me a better person. I ain't married you to bring this evil side out of me, this street side out of me, or try to make me fall into something that's displeasing to my Lord. I didn't marry you for this, to drive me crazy and put so much pressure on me. The sister need to put her foot down before she becomes bitter and before she loses her religion. So these things, like we said, is to don't lose sight of why we get married is based upon what we just mentioned. Keep that in mind when we embark upon marriage life. That's what we need to focus. And like we said, brothers and sisters, when you get to as we say, the nitty-gritty of what usually makes an individual happy, it's the simplest things. The most simplest things that can make each other happy. And I've even heard it from people who have money. They say, I don't want my husband for all that. I don't want him to get me 4 or 5 cars. I don't want my husband to get me I don't want him to get me the top line Mercedes. I just want to spend some time with him other than just me and him go out somewhere and it just be about me and him. You'll find women say that. Simplest things. These are the things that put a smile on my face. This is what makes me brighten up my day. Same thing with women. Just women should try to find out about her husband. What brightens up your day? What makes you feel good? We should ask these things. So getting back to the book, as we said, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, going back to the chapter of Husn al-Ishra, of good dealings with the spouse or good treatment, as the chapter in it is the chapter of marriage, of course. As we continue the hadith of Abu Hurairah, that we said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu he said, إِذَا دَعَ الرَّجُلْ إِمْرَأَتَهُ إِلَى فِرَاشِهِ فَأَبَى تَنْتَجِئْ فَبَاتَ غَضْبَانَ لَعِنَتْهَا الْمَلَائِكَةُ حَتَّى تُصْبِحْ. We finished, or we was in the midst of explaining this narration again. We said that if a man calls his wife to be intimate, or to intimacy, to being in the, of course, the bedroom, which is ultimate to be, which is meaning of it is intimacy, and she refuses to come, that the angels, and he comes upon the night, why does it do that? And it comes upon the night, or if he remains upon the night angry with her, the angels curse her until the morning time. There's another narration that says, if you look in your books, everyone, كان الذي في السماء ساخطا عليها حتى يرضى عنها يعني يرضى عنها زوجها. So كان الذي في السماء ساخطا عليها حتى يرضى عنها. In another narration for Muslim, that the one who's above the heavens will be angry with her until her husband is pleased with her. Until her husband is pleased with her. We discussed last class that we said the word la'na, and I think that's where we stopped at last class. We said that the word la'na breaks down to two categories, right, everyone? We was talking about the word la'na. The word la'na breaks down, or it has two meanings. The first one is a sab or them, means to insult one, or it also means to condemn or dispraise. Didn't we mention that? I think we mentioned that. It means to condemn or dispraise. It means to insult. La'an doesn't also mean to curse. Linguistically in the Arabic language, you'll find la'an, like we said, number one, it means sab or a dhal, means to curse, or not to curse, excuse me, to insult, or to dispraise, or to condemn. The second meaning of la'na, of course, is the meaning that's known, which is la'na, which is to curse something or curse one, meaning invoking upon or against a person that Allah expel him or her from his mercy. So that's the meaning of the second meaning of la'na. As we talked about, the dalil for that is in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, ad-dunya mal'una, mal'unun ma fiha, or mal'unun ma fiha, illa dhikrullah wa ma walahu wa aliman wa muta'allima. To the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, that the dunya is cursed. Cursed to what is in it, except the dhikr of Allah, the remembrance of Allah, and what is similar to that, and a alim and a muta'allim, and a scholar or teacher, and the one who's learning from that scholar or that person that's learned. We said that the meaning of la'na doesn't mean that everything in the dunya is expelled from the mercy of Allah. That's not the meaning. We said that the meaning of it is the first meaning, which is it's dispraised, it's looked down upon, it's insignificant, its value is very low. Meaning in the eyes of Allah, this dunya is very insignificant. It's low in its value. And we know that if it had any value to it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not give a drink of water to a disbeliever. As we know the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu he said, لو كانت الدنيا ساوى عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى منها كافرا شربة ماء. As we know the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu he said that this dunya, if it had any significance or value with Allah, the wing of a mosquito. That's how to show you how insignificant this world is with Allah. He said he wouldn't, if it had any of that type of value, he would not give a disbeliever from it, meaning from the dunya, a drink or a sip of water. If it had any significance. To let you know how dispraised and lowly and insignificant this world is to Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So that's the meaning of the hadith. Even the great Imam Sheikh Salih Fawzan, and even Sheikh Abdul-Aziz bin Baz, other than them, said that's the meaning of the hadith of the dunya being cursed. Not necessarily meaning, as some people think, the second meaning, which is that everything in the dunya is expelled from the mercy of Allah. No. It means that it's looked down upon. It's dispraised. It's insignificant. So you find that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said that if a man calls his woman, it says in the narration, when we said, as we know, the meaning of it here is the husband calling his wife. So no one would say man, woman. They would say, see, that means boyfriend. No, that's not what the meaning is. The meaning is the spouse, the two who are married. The two who are married. As we know, there are narrations clearly establishing that premarital involvement and intimacy is all unlawful in our religion. The premarital involvement or intimacy before the marriage is unlawful. And it causes Allah's wrath to descend upon the people. Allah, as we know, Allah Ta'ala is not pleased with these type of acts and these type of involvement and interaction and dealings. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَالْمُحْسِنِينَ use the other ayah. والمحصنات من المؤمنات والمحصنات من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم إذا آتيتموهن أجورهن محسنين غير مسافحين ولا متخذي أخدان ومن يكفر بالإيمان فقد حبط عمله وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. Surah Al-Ma'idah, the second page of Surah Al-Ma'idah, right at the end of the page, the second page of Surah Al-Ma'idah. Allah says, والمحصنات من المؤمنات والمحصنات من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم إذا آتيتموهن أجورهن محصنين غير مسافحين ولا متخذي أخدان. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ حَبِطَ عَمَلُهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That's the ayah. As Allah ta'ala says in His book, that's been made lawful for you, those chaste women from the people of the book. We know there's conditions on that. And the chaste women from the mu'minat, and those who are given the book, if you give them their ujur, meaning their mahr, you give them their dowry. Now listen to the part of the ayah. Muhsinin ghayru musafihin. Seeking chastity, not seeking what? Abominable, filthy acts. And not taking them as a boyfriend or girlfriend. Wala mutakhidhi akhdan. Because we know the word khadan in the Arabic language means friend. Not taking them as what? Girlfriends. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says that in His book. Not taking that as girlfriends. So the meaning of the hadith here, as we know, is the man calling his wife to the bed to be what? Intimate. And if she refuses to come, and as we said, that Ahl Ilm say that the meaning of refusing to come here means that she's not pardoned due to a legislated excuse. If she has a legislated legitimate excuse, then she can excuse herself. She can excuse herself. For example, of her being in her monthly cycle or what have you. Then she expressed that to her husband in a most acceptable fashion. There's a lot of us, we trying to kind of frank, I'm on my period. You don't have to say it like that. You could be very tactful at how you say it. Like, for example, get to know your husband and say, for example, it's my time. It's my time. Or saying, for example, babe, it's not the time. If you understand what I'm trying to say to you. Trying to use little words to hint instead of just being so straight to the forward, just straight to the punch. And it sounds to certain people, and even certain instances, it turns people off to hear something like that. Depending on the person, of course. But this is a legitimate excuse for a woman to what? Excuse herself. Or, for example, she might be very exhausted. This is also accepted, as you'll find the great Imam Muhammad al-Salih al-Uthaymeen said, it is what? It's justifiable if she what? Pardons herself with a legitimate excuse from the Kitab and Sunnah. Whether it be from her being exhausted, doing to a lot of labor or work on that particular day. Or, for example, like we said, in regards to something pertaining, whether it be to our monthly cycle or what have you. All these are acceptable, legitimate excuses that we should accept from our families and our wives if she says it and she makes it clear. But if there wasn't any excuse where she can excuse herself and she does not have a legitimate reason maybe just because she just wants to, I don't know, just be evil or what have you, and she has no justifiable excuse from Kitab and Sunnah, then this hadith applies to her. This hadith what? Applies to her. The hadith of with the angels, like we said, will curse her. The angels will what? Will curse her until she comes upon the morning. The hadith, is it talking about the first type of la'na or is it the second type of la'na? Is it the first or the second? Is it the first or the second? Is it saying that the angels will insult her or the angels will actually make dua against her? She said, one sister say the first. Here, the meaning of hadith here is the second. Yes. That the angels make dua against her of what? Of the la'na of Allah, the actual la'na. Not the meaning of a dispraise, even though generally it does coincide. But here they actually are invoking the la'na of Allah upon her to let you know the severity of this act. To let one know how severe this what? This act is. That for not to answer the call of her husband, and she's not excused due to a legitimate, justifiable, legislated excuse, then the angels will what? Will curse her until she comes upon the morning. And however, we did say from last class, even though the angels might stop cursing her, the other hadith applies still, which is what? That the one who's above the heavens will what? He will remain angry with her until her husband is what? Pleased with her. So just because one stops doesn't mean that the other what? Keeps going. You understand, everyone? So now you have two affairs, or two what? Prohibitions here. You have the angels, as we know that the angels, their supplication is what? Is answered by Allah. Due to the fact that they are al-mala'ikatul muqarrabun. They are the ones who are close to Allah, tabarak wa ta'ala. And you'll find that their supplications, when they make dua against a person, that it's answered. So, in addition to that, if you look in the narration, it says that the one who's above the heavens will remain angry with her until her husband is what? Pleased with her. So just because one affair stops because of the morning time does not mean that the what? That the second stops, which is Allah being angry with her until her husband is what? Pleased with her. So I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not test any of our sisters with this. So you'll find in this narration, just as if everyone looks in the page before it, this page before it, if you look, it's talking about the shayateen. If you look in the hadith before, as we covered on the authority of Ibn Abbas, right, everyone? This hadith affirms the what? The existence of what, everyone? From the Arkan al-Iman al-Sitta, from the 6 articles of faith, which is what? The belief in the angels, which is another form of the unseen, when it's obligatory upon the Muslim to believe in. That there are angels that exist, and they have different what? Different functions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted them, and different duties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted them to carry out. We know there are angels that's been entrusted to the wahi, such as Jibreel, alayhi salatu wassalam, where Jibreel was entrusted to the wahi, where he, and we know from the functions that the angels can come in the form of human beings by Allah's permission. Yes, the angels can come in the form of human beings based upon numerous evidences and proofs. From them is the angels that came to Prophet Lut at the time where Lut, just before the punishment of Allah descended upon his people. Do we know that the angels came in the form of what? Of men. They came in the form of men. And those same angels that before they came to Lut, they came to Ibrahim. That's all happened at the same time. A lot of people don't know, but Ibrahim and Lut were family. Ibrahim, alayhi wa ala nabiyyina afdal as-salatu wa tamm at-taslim. Him and Lut were what? Were family. And before they came to Lut, they came to Ibrahim. And Ibrahim, when he accepted them as their guests, he noticed from them that they didn't eat until he became afraid. So that was a clear evidence of proof to show that they were what? They were malaika, they were angels. And they came in the form of who? They came in the form of men. So that shows that the angels can what? can come in the form of men. Just likewise with Jibreel, came in the form of a man with Maryam, bint Imran. As we know, when Jibreel, who's entrusted with the wahi, came to Maryam bint Imran, alayha as-salatu was-salam, you'll find that Maryam, Jibreel came to her in the form of an upright man, as it comes to Surah Maryam. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book about Jibreel, فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. As it says clearly in the ayah. It's in the second page of Surah Maryam. He says that Jibreel came in the man of a rajulan sawiya, in the form of a very handsome, upright human being and man. So that lets you know that the angels have the ability to what? Come in the form of men. Also what happened with the Prophet ﷺ in Hadith Jibreel. With Jibreel ﷺ also came in the form of a man again. He came in the form of a man, in which which the companions I mentioned said that he came to them and he what? He said, شديد سواد الشعر شديد بياض الثياب. He says, لم يرى عليه أثر السفر ولم يعرفه ولا يعرفه منا أحد. You'll find that he said that his hair was very what? Extremely black. And he had a very clean white thobe. شديد بياض الثياب شديد سواد الشعر لم يرى عليه أثر السفر ولا يعرفه منا أحد. It says that he was very extremely white black hair, very extremely white thobe, meaning it was very, very clean. And he said he came out of what we would think was a traveler, even though this was his what? His state. There wasn't any effects of him traveling upon what? Upon his appearance. And no one know who we what? No one from us knew who he was. So this also shows that Jibreel what? Came in the form of a man. And also likewise, they say in another narration, which is Al-Bukhari, that Jibreel used to come in the form of in the image of what the Sahaba will understand as the great Sahabi. His name was Dihya al-Kalbi. Dihya al-Kalbi. Dihya al-Kalbi was very handsome. He was a very handsome Sahabi. He was a very handsome companion. Radiyallahu anhu. And you will find that Jibreel used to come in the image that sometimes of what they will resemble or what they will understand as the resemblance of Dihya al-Kalbi. To let you know that Jibreel and the angels had the ability to come in the form of what? Of men. Also, we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said in the narration of affirming the likewise the existence of the angels and that great supplication that we've been commanded to memorize. And it will be a reason to aid us in the times that are very, very difficult, and to keep our insight pure and straight. Which is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, encouraging us to memorize this supplication when things become unclear to us. When things become unclear, meaning in times where things are severe and there's difficulties and there's a lot of trials and tribulations taking place, where the Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma rabbi Jibreel wa Mikail wa Israfil, فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون اهدني لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. That supplication, you can find that in the Fortress of the Muslims. In there. Anyway, it says in the hadith, Allahumma rabba Jibreel wa Mikail wa Israfil, فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلف. In actuality, the first part of this dua is an ayah. It's in the book of Allah. He says, فيما اهدني لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. We said, Oh Allah, Rabbu Jibreel wa Mikail wa Israfil, the originator of the heavens and the earth, the all-knower of the unseen and what is seen, or what is that which is secret and that which is open, or that which we see and what we don't see. عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. He says, you judge between your servants of what they differ in. Guide me to what they have differed in of the truth. Verily no one guides to the truth except you. The point of that particular dua is or the shahid, or the point of reference, or evidence is in the first part of the hadith, where he says, Rabb Jibreel, the Lord Jibreel, Mikael, Israfil, which is referring to the existence of the malaika. Linguistically, brothers and sisters, the word malaika, a lot of people don't know. Malaika is just another word for what they call ma'lak. Or it's, if you want to say that the origin of the word goes back to the word uluka, ulukatun, ulukatun, uluka, which is alif, lam, waw, kaf, ta marbuta, ta'un marbuta. Uluka in the Arabic language means risala, means messengership, or to deliver a message. So the word uluka means risala, it just means messengership, or for one delivering a message, or delivering a message. Delivering a message. And we know that the malaika, they are what? Messengers. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the first ayah in Surah Al-Fatir. First ayah in Surah Al-Fatir. Allah wa ta'ala says in his book, Alhamdulillahi fatir as-samawati wal-ardi ja'ili al-malaikati rusulan uli ajnihatin mathna wa thulatha wa ruba'. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, all praise is due to Allah, the originator of the heavens and the earth, making the malaikati rusulan, making the angels messengers. So the malaika means what, everyone? Messengers. It's in the very first ayah in Surah Al-Fatir. First ayah, number 1. In Surah Al-Fatir. Fatir meaning the surah of the originator. Making the angels rusul. Making the angels what? Making the angels messengers. So the angels are messengers. And we have so many proofs and evidences for that. We know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, if you want to search for the ayat and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, he says, talking about us, the human beings, where he talks about and saying that the angels who have been appointed to us, they say, Kiraman katibin ya'lamuna ma taf'alun. We know that Allah ta'ala has said there are angels that's been entrusted to write our deeds down. And they are kiraman katibin ya'lamuna ma taf'alun. He said that they are honorable, noble writers, and they know what you do. They are honorable, noble writers, and they know what you do. And we know that the angels, that they take and alternate during the day and the night, at the time of Fajr and the time of Asr, as we know. In the hadith of Abu Hurairah, which is in the Sahihain, as we know. But the Prophet ﷺ said, يَتَعَاقَبُ فِيكُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ بِالنَّهَارِ فيجتمعون عند الفجر والعصر فيسعد الذين باتوا فيكم فيسألهم ربهم وهو أعلم بهم كيف تركتم عبادي قالوا تركناهم وهم يصلون وأتيناهم وهم يصلون. The end of the hadith, which is in Bukhari and Muslim, the authority of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that the angels alternate and take turns. Angels during the day and angels during the night. And then they gather at the time for Fajr and Asr. فَيَصَعْدُ الَّذِينَ بَاتُوا فِيكُمْ. So those who are upon you at the night, they leave, they depart. And notice that it says in the hadith, they ascend above. They ascend above. Which is to let you know that Allah is above. Because it says clearly in the hadith that they ascend. They ascend above. And their Lord asks them. And even though He is all aware and knowledgeable what they have done. How did you leave my servants? He says, we left them off and they were praying. And we came to them and they were what? They were praying. So we always should be on guard against the malaika in the morning, and especially in the asr. We want the angels to go and ascend above to Allah, saying that we were praying, not sleeping. So we say, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa wal-akhawat, that the angels you'll find from their functions is that they've been what? Entrusted to write down our deeds. Also, the angels that's been entrusted to write down our deeds, two things needs to be realized. Number one is, just because Allah has entrusted and appointed angels upon us does not mean He needs them. Allah Ta'ala does not need, He does not have the characteristic of need at all. Allah does not have the characteristic of haja. Allah is free of any type of need. Just because the angels have been appointed to us to write down the deeds of the ibad does not mean that He needs them. Allah does not need the angels. Allah Ta'ala suffices that He knows the actions of His servants without the angels writing it down. That's why it clearly says in the hadith that we just mentioned, what does it say, everyone? They come to Him and He asks them even though He's what? Most knowledgeable. So what's the purpose of the malaika then? The purpose of the malaika is for the day of resurrection. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us and you on that day. Is for them to be an extra proof against you or for you. Either extra proof, what? Against you or for you. May Allah make the angels a proof for us, not against us. To make the angels as an extra proof. So you can have no excuse of what acts you have done. Of what you have done of uprightness or what you've done of what? Of evil. You have no escape. Allah has it all recorded down. So just because the angels exist does not mean that Allah Ta'ala what? Has a need for them. Allah is self-sufficient, all perfect. He does not need anything He created. Allah has no need for the creation. Rather, the creation is in need of Him. Subhanahu Jalla fil Ula. So that's number one. So just because the angels exist, or just because they exist, does not mean that Allah Ta'ala what? Needs them. That's number one. Similar to that, another example to that, if you want to add on to that, it's just a side point. Just because Allah is above the arsh does not mean Allah needs the arsh. You'll find that the great Imam At-Tahawi, rahimahullah, he mentions in his book, Aqidat Al-Tahawiyya, a tremendous fa'idah. He said the belief of Ahl Sunnah, of course, and the people who have the correct sound belief is that Allah has absolute perfect ghina. He has absolute perfect self-sufficiency. And he said this important point in his book, Aqidat Al-Tahawiyya. He said, just because Allah is above the arsh does not mean that Allah needs the arsh. Allah is above the arsh out of some infinite wisdom that He knows what we do not know. But Allah Ta'ala does not need the arsh. He does not need anything He created. He laid down that belief, that aqidah, which is true. Allah does not need anything He created. He doesn't even have the characteristic of need in the first place. Because the characteristic of need does not befit the Creator. And that's also a reason why Allah does not have what? Children. Similar to that likewise. Because a person having a child necessitates a deficiency of what? Of being a deity. Because a child was only given in order to what? Continue the progeny or the lineage of a human being. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Jesus, who? The son of Mary, because He has no father. Just the mere, like I said in the classic Kitab al-Tawheed, just the mere description of Jesus being to his mother is a refutation against the Christians. Why? Because if he had a father, he would have been what? Ascribed to who? His father. Which is to let you know that Jesus did not have a what? A father. So Allah is not his what? His father. Rather, he's ascribed to his who? His mother. So Allah Ta'ala, just because he created the what? The angels, does not mean what? He needs the angels. Also from the functions of the angels, to let you know how honorable and how great the angels and the malaika are, is that the one on the right has some type of power over the one over the left. The angel on the right has power over the one over the, whoa, I didn't realize the time. The one of the right has some power over the left. The angel is right down on the right, has some power over the one over the left. What person would say we should delete for that? The delete for that is that if the abd commits an evil act, the right angel says, Amsik hatta yatub. The right says to the one on the left, stop, don't record it yet. Give him a chance to make tawbah first. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? He says, wait, give him a chance to repent first. So that shows that the angel on the right has some what? He has some type of power over the what? Over the what? Over the left. So that's the second affair. So amsik hatta yatub. Wait, give him a chance to repent. And if he repents, then it's written down as what? As one good, it's written down as one evil action. As one what? Evil action. Which goes in line with what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said in a tremendous athar. He says, فَقَدْ هَلَكَ مَنْ غَلَبَتْ سَيِّئَةُ الْوَاحِدَةِ غَلَبَتْ أَعْشَارَهُ. He says the person is truly destroyed, the one whose actions are down and counted as one, where it overrided deeds that are multiplied and fold, which are tens. That person truly is destroyed. So we say, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa wal-akhawat, that the angels, these are from their duties. And there are also angels that protect you. There are angels that have been appointed to protect us, to fight off certain unseen affairs, which are called the angels, which are the mu'aqibat. There are angels that are called the mu'aqibat. What are the mu'aqibat? The mu'aqibat are considered hafadha. Hafadha are the ones who come to protect, to guard the human being from maybe unseen, the affairs of the unseen that take place that might harm the human being. There are angels that are guard and protect the human being. That's due to the ayat which is the Surah Al-Ra'd. Surah Al-Ra'd. The second page of Surah Al-Ra'd is the second page on Surah Al-Ra'd. It's like right at the end, at second page, right towards the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something tremendous. He says, لَهُمْ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِّن بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ مِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah Ta'ala says in his book that the human being has mu'aqibat, that is from the front of him and behind him. They protect him by the command of Allah. That they protect him from the command of Allah. Then if you notice right at the following ayah after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verily Allah will not change the state of the people until they change that which is what? In themselves. It's all in that same ayah. طيب. So the malaika have been appointed with different functions. From them also, as we know that the angels also understand. They understand and they comprehend. And they have comprehension. They understand. They understand the language of the human being based upon, as we know, all the ahadith that we mentioned previously or a couple of minutes ago. All of them show that the angels understand, that they comprehend. From when Prophet Lut or from Prophet Ibrahim spoke to them, when Prophet Lut spoke to them, and from the prophets and messengers spoke to them, and from when Maryam spoke to Jibreel, as it says in Surah Maryam, you'll find that Jibreel, that there was a conversation between Angel Jibreel and Maryam. And you'll find also in the first page of Surah Maryam, the same thing. When the angels came giving glad tidings to Yahya, it's because it's in the first page of Surah Maryam. You'll find that the angels were speaking, they were communicating, and the prophets were addressing them, and they were conversing. To let you know that the angels also comprehend. They comprehend and they understand. Also, when the Prophet ﷺ spoke to Jibreel, and Jibreel was asking him questions, and the Messenger of Allah was answering. And Jibreel confirmed. He confirmed. He said, Sadaq, you spoke the truth. So all those are dalil and proofs and evidences that the angels also what? Comprehend. And we have different narrations in the Sahih, in the Sunnah, showing that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was talking with Jibreel, and Jibreel was also conversing with him to show that they truly, that they understand. That the angels, that they understand. And also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where we know when a person makes dua for his or her brother or sister, when he makes dua, the angel says, Ameen wa laka mithl. Like you make a supplication, there will be an angel appointed and he will say, may Allah answer it, may you have similar. That's all to show that the angels what? That they comprehend, that they understand. We do know that the angels some of them have wings. We know that. Due to the ayat, going back to the same ayat, which is a Surah Al-Fatir. The first ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after he mentioned that he made the angels rusul, he made the messengers, جَاعِلِ الْمَلَائِكَةِ رُسُلًا أُولِي أَجْنِحَةٍ مَثْنَا وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعٍ. He says, we made the angels messengers. And then he said in the ayah, Uli ajniha, possessing wings. Mathna wa thulatha wa ruba'. Some of them having 2, some of them having 3, some of them having 4. And then he said he increases in his creation of whom he wills. Verily Allah, inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Verily Allah is able to do all things. And we know there are other functions of the angels. We're not just mentioning that or these matters and restricting to what we mentioned. There's others, as we don't have time to totally get into all the different functions of the angels. But these are just some to let us know that we believe in them, and that's from the articles of faith. And that it's incumbent upon a Muslim to believe in them, to believe in this affair of the existence of the angels. And also it's incumbent upon us also to have good mannerism with them. Good mannerism with them. Good mannerism with them by knowing that they have been appointed to protect us and to record our actions. And we know that there are also angels in the heavens, that they are inhabitants of the samawat. They are inhabitants of the heavens. As we know the hadith, which is in Bukhari, what the Prophet ﷺ said about the angels. He says, أن الله ينادي جبريل فيقول الله إني أحب فلانا فأحبه فيحبه جبريل ثم يأتي جبريل إلى سكان السماوات فيقول لهم إن الله يحب فلان فأحبوه فيحبه الملائكة حتى يوضعوا له القبول في الأرض. As we know the hadith, which is the Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ said that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the servant, he calls out. And this is in the heavens. And notice in the hadith it says, this takes place in the heavens, where all the deviant sects who deny the aboveness of Allah ta'ala, the highness of Allah, have no answer to this hadith. It says clearly in the hadith that this takes place in the heavens, or above the heavens. Above the heavens, it says. It says, verily Allah, if He loves one, He calls out to Jibreel, verily I love someone, so love him. So Jibreel loves him. So it also proves and shows that the malaika, they also love. And that the malaika also hate. So now, the malaika also hate. What's the proof of that? The proof is in the hadith right here, in Buloogh Al-Maraam. Right here. What does it say? Due to this act being displeased to Allah, the angels cursed the woman due to her disobedience to Allah, because of her not answering the call of intimacy with her spouse without a justifiable excuse. So what's this to show? That the angels also what, everyone? Not only do they love, they also what? They also hate. They hate for Allah. They hate what Allah hates. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So notice in the hadith it says, Jibreel calls out, verily Allah loves, verily I love so-and-so, so love him. So Jibreel descends and he goes to the other malaika and he says to them, verily Allah loves so-and-so, so love him. So the angels love him, and it's put for him acceptance in the earth. Acceptance in the earth, the meaning of the hadith is based upon what the great Imam, Shaykh Muhammad Amal Jami, mentions. He gave an excellent explanation of this hadith. He said, firstly, this hadith affirms the aboveness or highness of Allah, being above the heavens. He says, secondly, also the meaning of the hadith that is put for him acceptance in the earth means two meanings. He said the first meaning of it, that it means that Allah will put acceptance of that person with the awliya of Allah, meaning who Allah loves, who are the people of truth, the people of aqidah, the people of tawheed, the people of sunnah, the people of minhaj al-salafi. They are the awliya of Allah truly. That Allah will put acceptance with them. And he said it's not a prerequisite that all of the creation have to love him, meaning those from Allah's enemies, from the people of shirk, or the people of kufr, or the people of ilhad, or the people of zandaqah, or the people of bid'ah. Those people are the enemies of Allah, and according to how they have distanced themselves in the proper belief, they also have their portion of being adawa. They have their portion of enmity with Allah. That does not mean that Allah will bring acceptance with them. That's not meaning the hadith. Meaning Allah will give acceptance of the earth with His awliya, the people of tawheed, the people of sunnah, the ulama of the salaf, the ulama al-minhaj al-salafi, the people of tawheed, the people of sunnah, the people of the haqq, the people of hadith, the people of sunnah. That if those people love him, inshallah, that's a sign that Allah loves you. Inshallah. He said the second meaning of the hadith, he says either Allah will put acceptance with the people of the truth. Secondly, in addition to that, or Allah will allow you, when you speak, the people will love to the people will accept what you say. That when you speak, the people accept what you say. He'll put acceptance for your speech, meaning of what you propagate of the truth. And we'll stop here, inshallah. We'll stop here. And I think this suffice to be adequate. There's other points that we want to get into, but we don't have time. I had some other things we want to get into as far as Aqidah. Be prepared for that next week, sisters, because I'm going to go inside of a little deep inside of affairs of Al-Asma' wal-Sifat, and we'll do that next week. So prepare for that next week, because I'm going to talk about certain affairs that's pertaining to the third category of Tawheed, which is the category of Al-Asma' wal-Sifat. So we'll stop here. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Anything pertaining to the lesson, brothers and sisters?